Hey fam, how's it going? Back with another travel video. This one's gonna be about road trip, van life. I did another one about like overseas travel and things like that. So this is gonna be if you're a beginner or if you've been at it for a little bit and you're just curious about my experience or want additional tips or anything like that. Feel free to leave any comments if you guys have any questions. And yeah, these are just like based on my personal experiences. A little bit of background is I've been traveling for quite some time. I've been a nomad since 2023. I spent the first half of last year of 2025, it's now 2026 as I'm recording this. I spent the first half of 2025 car camping. I've done a lot of car camping. When I had my car, I no longer have a vehicle at this current moment, but hopeful to have one again in the future, and also to have like a camper or a van is the goal, to do just more sustainable traveling, if you will, and being on the road and things like that. So these are just going to be tips, tricks, hacks that I've found useful for those that may be curious. I had a Nissan Rogue when I was traveling in my car, and she honestly was like I always have had great luck with vehicles, to be honest. She was my first and only vehicle that I actually traveled in and like would sleep in. I slept in her by myself. I slept in her with my then husband when we were still married. She honestly was great in space wise, super accommodating for someone. I'm only 5 foot tall too, so but my ex-husband was like 5'7", 5'6", 5'7", somewhere in there, maybe 5'8", I can't remember honestly, but and so he was like slightly more cramped, but was still doable with the both of us in the back. We would just fold the seats down and go from there. So I have also slept, actually was able to sleep in a van, my friend's van, for about a week or two at the end of last year, and that also kind of gave me some insight into like what it would be like living in a van and things like that, because the van life was always the dream, and I do love living in a van, but there's also like such a comfort of like having a home and things like that. So this is going to be like that plus like nomad, just tips and tricks along the way, because I car camped for the first half. I was in Canada in house for a little bit last year, and then I did trusted house sitters. So highly recommend if you're in the States or Canada, or if you're going to some places overseas, most likely Europe, because Trusted House Sitters is a Dutchland-based company. Highly recommend. They have changed their platform a little bit, but it's still pretty convenient. You pay like an annual fee, and I think they just changed their booking platform, so like you now pay like a booking fee if you get accepted for a house sit. So I would definitely say like if you're planning on going somewhere for a longer period, it is like pet sitting, so it's pet sitting and house sitting in exchange for a place to stay. So that's like the caveat to traveling, outside of like Airbnbs and like paying for places to stay and things like that. So anyways, let's get started. So I have done many road trips. Like I said, I lived out of my car for the first 6 months of last year, and I've traveled all the way up and down the East Coast. I've traveled all the way from Connecticut to Texas. I've traveled coast to coast. I've traveled all the way up and down the West Coast, pretty much anywhere west of Texas. And so like literally all the way up and down through PNW and Montana, Wyoming, all that, all the way down to Arizona and New Mexico and whatnot. So, and I just road tripped a bunch around Colorado. So I've had a lot of experience driving in the car, going cross country, back and forth, both by myself and with other people. And yeah, so let's just get started. I kind of have like an overview of everything that I want to talk about. I might just spitball here and there. So again, if you have questions, comments, leave them below and I will answer them. But yeah, here we go. So first thing is planning. I'm not much of a planner. I typically use my intuition is my north compass, my north star, my whatever, my compass, you know what I mean. And so I personally don't usually, I mean, I'll have like a general route, right? So like when I was moving from Connecticut to Colorado back in 2024, I just had like a loose plan of like, I'm going from Connecticut to Colorado. I want to stop in like certain places along the way. I knew I wanted to go to Glacier National Park. I was hoping to make it to the Badlands. Turns out I was driving through the Badlands to get to Glacier National Park and then drove down. I hit the Tetons and then ended up back in Colorado. So like just having some sort of a loose plan, also just being mindful of weather when you're traveling, because like my ex-husband and I, we had gone from Connecticut to Colorado, and then we were driving up to Yellowstone and then back home, and we were trying to beat a hurricane that was coming up the coast at the same time that we were coming home, which made it a little bit tricky in the driving department. We were in a 4-door sedan, so it just was a little rocky coming home. So just be mindful of weather. We were down in Big Bend and got hit with like a dust, sand, dirt tornado thing, like hit my car. I don't even know what it was. So like, I mean, it was super random. So just being aware that things like that can happen. I've hit hail and snow in July in Colorado. It'll literally be like 80 degrees and totally sunny, and then within an hour it's dropping 30 degrees and snowing, or however many degrees, 40, 50 degrees and snowing, depending on where you are, and elevation changes and things like that. So just be mindful of that. Weather changes super quick when you're out west, so just good things to be aware of, especially if you're like out paddleboarding and or near water or anything like that. Yeah, so that's that. When you are traveling, I also say use Google Maps. You can use Waze if you are someone who likes to know like where police is and things like that. Apple Maps is also helpful. I find Google Maps to probably be the best, like transit wise. And you can like, I believe, pin places as you go. I also like downloading the map so that if I lose service, I can still zoom in and like see where my route is, or just take pictures the old school way. That's how we used to do it back in the day, like circa 2014, 2015. So long ago now. That was when my road tripping journeys started, was 2015. So I've gone everywhere. I've done the Mighty Five, all the way through Utah. So I've done like the 5 national parks and a bunch of other stops along the way. I've done the Four Corners. Yeah, I've traveled a lot. I've driven from Colorado to Connecticut in like 2.5 days by myself. So just like, I've learned a lot along the way. If you have time, give yourself time. There's no need to rush. And also like speed limits are different everywhere you go, so there's that too. Know like maybe your next stop, if that feels good, or your next couple stops, or like if you're traveling all day, kind of have like maybe a ballpark of like where you want to be that night if you are like on a long stretch without like a hard concrete plan. Just that way you can like look up campsites, or like places to park, or where to get groceries and things like that, because I will say out west more particularly, things are a lot more spread out, so sometimes you won't see gas stations for hundreds of, like, at least 100 miles, you know what I mean? And that's in some more rarer cases, like in Utah and Kansas and things like that, but if you're driving overnight and things like that, it's just good to also make sure that you always have a fresh tank of gas, especially if you're out west. So I always say, like, if you're at like, I don't know, a half tank and you're like, I don't know where the next gas station is, like just fill up. Like, it's always good to have a full tank rather than running on low and trying to like panic find a gas station. Gas Buddy is super helpful for finding like the lowest prices if you're on a budget, and things like that. I used Gas Buddy quite a bit. It's fairly accurate, I would say. There's been moments where I like look it up and then I go there and I'm like, that's not what the app says, even though it said like someone checked in like 2 hours ago and said that's the price. Also knowing that, like, especially in Colorado, they like to fuck around with the gas prices, so Like you could be, I literally was living in Longmont, Colorado, and like gas was like, I don't even know, it was stupid cheap, like under $3 at this point, well under $3, and might have been, was it $1.99 at one point? I can't remember, but it was like stupid cheap. But like there was 4 gas stations and they all had different prices, and I'm like, we're literally like right across the street from each other. Like what is going? They had like a huge gas war. It was like all over the news and things like that. So just know that that is possible too. I would say to like, that's on the gas front. I'm trying to think. Most gas stations, especially out west, you'll have more truck stops. Up and down the East Coast, you'll have truck stops. Getting apps for gas stations. So Love's, Flying J, they'll usually give you like cents off your like per gallon, which is really, really nice when you're traveling, especially long distances and things like that. They also have like showers and stuff at truck stops. They have a lot of like snack options. I would say they do have some more food options than you generally would find elsewhere. Trying to think. And yeah, their bathrooms are pretty like clean. You can also park at truck stops like overnight if you need places to stay. I will say they are sometimes a little bit on the louder side, just based on like there's usually 18-wheelers and things like that. I generally say stay away from hotels, because a lot of times now, I think just people like kind of I don't want to say ruined it for everybody, but hotels usually will like check the parking lots, and sometimes they'll ask for your like license plate and things like that. So I personally try and stay away from hotel parking lots unless I'm actually staying at the hotel. Truck stops, Walmarts, Cracker Barrels. Even then, like it might still be loud, but I've had pretty good luck at Walmarts, to be honest. Cracker Barrel was not my favorite per se for me, but other people, it just also depends on where you are and like what city you're in and things like that. Obviously Cracker Barrel is also nice because you can like get up and get food in the morning. Walmart is nice, especially if it's 24 hours. You can go inside and use the bathroom. Making sure you have like window covers and things like that too, because a lot of those parking lots have lights. So if you're someone who's sensitive, either bring an eye mask or just have really good like blackout covers. I did things a little bit ghetto. I had like towels and blankets and stuff like all around my windows because I didn't have actual covers. That was back in my super budget days. So yeah, it just you learn to make it work. I will say National Forest and BLM land is like my favorite place to go and park. I have found like the most beautiful fucking places on this planet with rad sunsets, decent amount with no service. A lot of times there's like, it's kind of half and half, honestly. Like I found places where I was like totally by myself, and then I found other places where there was other people around. I like both. I just don't like being on top of people, and I don't like noisy places. So it really just depends on where you go. Especially if you're on BLM land, you might find that there's people out there like with razors and 4x4s and things like that. So it just depends on where you are. Like Arizona, like north of Phoenix, there's a lot of BLM land where people take their razors and stuff like that. So sometimes it can be a little bit noisier. I personally like to use iOverlander as my favorite app to use when traveling, just because you can literally like pin a place. It gives you the the longitude, latitude coordinates, and you can see like reviews. So if people went there recently, like what it's like. Some places will tell you, like I also like iOverlander for, it'll show you I think they're mostly free, but there might be some paid campsites there too. Campsites.net is a really good resource online. That'll give you free campsites, paid campsites all over the country. Again, most of this is just for the US. I haven't camped or done anything like outside of the US, so I don't have any recommendations. This is literally just for inside the US. But yeah, iOverlander was my favorite. I found some of the most beautiful campsites on BLM land in like Lake Havasu, Arizona. Craggy Wash is a really good place. Most places they like let you stay up to 14 days. No one's honestly patrolling it. Obviously, like, I've seen some campers that are like, you know, people are desert dwelling, if you will, and so that's when you might have a little bit more trouble. The sheriff might come through and just do like a drive-through, honestly, just to make sure like everything is going fine and there's no like crazy shit going on. Again, just because there's some interesting energy when you get out into the desert. But I've honestly, like, Prescott, Arizona has some beautiful like forest camping. Same with Colorado. I will say, obviously, there is a lot of places in the West more so that have like paid campsites and things like that. It's not that they're bad per se, you're just gonna be around other people. Also, a lot of the paid campsites will have like either, sometimes they have shower stuff, not always, but they'll have like a vault toilet or pit toilet or anything like that. And they're usually pretty good about cleaning them at most sites, if you will. The Dirt is another good app. I personally haven't used it too much, but I know that it's good, and so is Campendium. Campendium's more, I believe, for like RVs and stuff like that, but also just great resources to have. The Road Tripper app is also really helpful. I believe you might have to pay for it now. You didn't have to back in the day. They have like certain options that you can still use for free. But that's good for like if you're like wanting to plan out certain places. That'll also give you like landmarks, or we found a really cool, there's like a giant pink elephant outside of a gas station somewhere in the Midwest. I want to say it was maybe South Dakota or Wisconsin, maybe somewhere out there. That we just like pulled over to get gas and got a picture with the big pink elephant in the parking lot. So there's like just different things like that that you can just kind of like pinpoint. You can also look it up online, but the Road Tripper app was nice because you could just put in your location and then you could see along your route like what options there were for sites and stuff like that. If you are car camping and you're trying to be stealth, arrive on the later side after dark. Don't like go making a shit ton of noise and like putting, you know, lights on and all the things. I usually would like pull in, shut my car off, like put everything up and then put a light on once all my windows are covered. If you're in like a neighborhood or something like that, you can usually get away with neighborhoods if you're in like a general car or a van. I'm trying to think of where I was. There was one spot that I was in last year. Might have been right outside of Bakersfield, maybe, California. I think it was Bakersfield or something like that. California is, I would say, it's possible, but they are a little bit trickier. Some places you can get away with it. I was just super stealth when I did a lot of things, so I never had issues. But I know sometimes like cops will patrol and things like that. So California has a lot of signs where it says like no parking overnight, or no parking from like 11 to 5 a.m. or from 2 to 6 a.m. or whatever. So just keeping an eye out for that depending on where you are. Truck stops, rest stops, you can park overnight for the most part. I will say they're probably going to be a little bit louder though, because there's usually like tractor trailer trucks and things like that, which can be a little bit more noisy, and they're rest stops generally. I've found like might not be as clean, but truck stops are definitely like underrated. They literally have like everything that you need. So and then yeah, if you're doing stealth camping, just like arrive a little bit later, probably leave early if you can, or just be as stealth as you can. Obviously you're not gonna have a bathroom, so plan for that. If you can be near a bathroom, great. If not, just plan accordingly. If it feels off, trust your gut. That's like my number one thing. I never really had any major issues, but there was a few, and granted, like everything happens for a reason. It definitely was like my own lessons to learn. But yeah, I found some pretty rad places out there. Obviously, if you're out in the middle of nowhere, just be mindful. Like, I'm gonna say the things, even though I know that everybody's protected, but everyone's gonna go through their own experience. Like, I had a taser or a knife or pepper spray, so have something available, especially if you're just like a single traveler. It's always good to just have. I personally don't really carry anything anymore, but I also know I'm super protected and guided, so I don't really worry about things like that. It's taken me a long time to get here, but anyways, as far as like hygiene and things like that, I kind of touched on this a little bit already, but truck stops have showers. I personally have never showered at a truck stop. They charge you a different amount, I think, at different truck stops, so just being aware of that. Also, going at certain times, like if you're trying to go like early in the morning and you're trying to get out, like when the truckers are trying to get out, like there's probably gonna be a line. So just being mindful of that, and just like communicate with the cashiers or front desk people who are in charge. I want to say Love's was like $10 or $15 for a shower, maybe not, I could be wrong. And that was like a year and a half ago maybe. I think it also just depends on like what state you're in and where you are and things like that. So Planet Fitness, huge shout out to PF. They were a godsend when I was on the road. I'm not a huge fan of the culture at PF, but they are super fucking convenient. You can also, most of them, you can just park in the parking lot and go in, like you can park like overnight, because they're open 24 hours. So just being mindful of that. If you go to cities like Las Vegas, like I said, Cali, I'm trying to think of anywhere else where I had, a lot of them will have signs, just because their homeless populations are a lot larger, so you just have to be like a little bit more mindful. You'll see like sometimes they will have like cops patrolling and things like that. Park under a light if you feel like you need to. Otherwise, I just kind of like stealth park, like away from the cars. I think that's it on that, but that's good because it gives you showers and bathroom. Most of them are open 24/7. You just have to be careful of like some weekend hours in some places. I think that's it on that. Yeah. Baby wipes are huge to have. Like literally, baby wipes are a godsend for when you can't take a shower, or just literally anything, any like emergency, anything. You can literally clean anything with a baby wipe. Whether it's like your personal self, or if you need to clean up like some sauce that you spilled, or you can honestly use them to clean like pots and pans and shit if you really need to. Obviously like Clorox wipes are better for that, but you just make do with what you got sometimes, you know. Trying to think of anything else on that front. I personally, I didn't really have pepper spray, but I had bear spray in my front door. That's a good thing to have, especially if you're out west. Bears are pretty tricky. I thankfully never ran into them, but I know people that have. And I would always just keep it in my door, with a little trowel. And if you need like doggy bags, those are honestly awesome. Like just keeping a roll of doggy bags, like dog poop bags, in there for like if you have to go to the bathroom, tissues, baby wipes, things like that. Plastic bags are going to be huge too. I always use them for like trash purposes and things like that. I know a lot of places are getting rid of plastic bags. It's currently January 2026 when I'm recording this. I know plastic bags are like non-existent in a lot of places, so dog poop bags might be your best bet, but for larger trash and things like that, just like good old Walmart plastic bags or whatever. Having a microfiber towel of some sort, or just like a quick dry towel. I use Wise Owl, those are my favorite. But these are good for showers because they literal quick dry, so you just leave them outside. Obviously if you're in cooler weather it's gonna be a little bit harder, but they usually like will give you a like a face cloth and a bigger towel. I recommend getting the biggest towel that you possibly can, honestly. I got like just a large last time and it's nice, but like I wish it would have been a little larger. And it usually comes in like a little like mesh pack too for it to pack down. Pretty simple when you're traveling. Crocs or flip-flops if you're in like shared showers and like showers gross you out, those are always good to have. I say Crocs are great just because you can literally go anywhere in them. Flip-flops are great too, obviously. I just like Crocs because you can like slip up the back band, so you can go into sport mode or 4-wheel drive, or 2-wheel drive, whatever you want to call it. You can like go in the ocean or water or whatever. So it's just good to have. I think that's it for that stuff. Hi, friend. There's a little bird in front of me. Portable power, honestly, like you can get a Jackery or there's other ones like EcoFlow and things like that. I personally never had one of those. I had a Lucy light that I got from REI, which is just like a solar lamp, which is really good. You can literally just like put it out and you can charge it fully, or you can charge it via sunlight. You just have to obviously make sure there's sun. I used that. I had a portable charger. I had a couple portable chargers, and then I would just charge everything as I was driving. Like literally would plug everything into every outlet that I possibly could. So that's what I would do personally. But you know, you just make do with what you got if you're on a budget. Otherwise, Jackery's a really good one. My friend also had another like smaller power bank. I can't remember the name of it for the life of me, but it was great because it had also obviously vans can have like a bigger battery like power source, or if you have solar panels, it's really helpful. If you're like building out a van, or if you already have one with solar panels, that's really helpful. But yeah, portable batteries are going to be your friend. Otherwise, just charge everything as much as you can while you're driving, especially if you're driving for like long stints. Also having a mount for your windshield is great, so you don't have to like look down. You can literally just put your phone up and have all your stuff right there. Only caveat is if it's super sunny, your phone might overheat, so you just got to be careful with that. And if you are car camping or van life camping and it's super cold out, just make sure you put your phone where it's a little bit warmer. So like, and this is in extreme cases, but like I didn't know this, but I was in Prescott, Arizona in January of 2025, and I didn't know that it was supposed to get so cold, and I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning and it was 17 degrees outside. Thankfully I was still in my car, but it was fucking cold. So just being aware of weather wherever you go. But yeah, your phone might get a little chilly, which can affect the battery sometimes, depending on like how old or new your phone is, I guess. Just like in terms of like holding the battery, so something to be aware of. I think that's it on the charging front. Some people recommend headlamps. I always had like just a tactical flashlight, but it has a clip on it so that I could just pop it onto a hat and use it like a headlamp. Shout out to Dr. Mancini if you ever see this. Doctor I used to work with, he gifted me a tactical light when I left my job as a nurse, and it was so nice of him. But yeah, I still have that, and I use it like whenever I travel. It's nice because it's a rechargeable one, so I don't have to worry about batteries. And it uses like a USB-C, I think, which is like a pretty common charger for nowadays. So Bluetooth speaker, definitely worth it for the vibes. If you are like out in the middle of nowhere, it's always nice to have. Obviously on hikes, it's nice to have. Also just recommend making a lot of noise when you're on hikes, especially if you're out west, because of animals. Again, none of this is to like make anyone fear anything at all, just my tips and tricks that I've learned along the way, so if you can learn anything from me. Also having offline maps. I use AllTrails when I'm going hiking, Google Maps, but just downloading maps offline if you can, so that way if you lose service, and I've touched on this already, but if you lose service, then you can actually like go and look at what your route is. What else? Okay, so in terms of like food storage and things like that, obviously if you're out west, just keep everything in your car if you can. Obviously just be mindful, lock your doors. Like bears can be a little troublesome in some areas out west, especially in the mountains. If they have a bear box for storage, I just usually throw everything in the bear box, no matter where I am, whether I'm camping or car camping. And I have always used a cooler per se. I've never had a fridge, but I know if you have a van, obviously you can have a fridge, or just a really, really good cooler is a really good investment, honestly, if you're going car camping for an extended amount of time. Just something that's gonna hold your ice for a couple of days, not like a cheap. My ex and I, we had done a road trip and I was like, oh, we can just get a styrofoam cooler, like that will be fine. And the styrofoam coolers are just kind of shitty. They don't really hold for very long. They also like condensate, and so you just have to be kind of mindful. It's fine if you're only going for like a day or two, but if you're going for longer stints, like just invest in a good cooler, whether it be a Yeti or I can't think of the other good ones on the market, but Coleman is a really great brand for literally anything, whether it's a grill, whether it's a tent, whether it's a light. They're really great quality. They last a long time. I literally like just got rid of my sleeping pad last year, and I had that thing for like 8 or 9 years. So that's really, really helpful for that. But yeah, I just recommend getting a really, really good cooler that's gonna hold your ice like for a solid couple of days, especially if you're in the back country and things like that where it might be a little bit hotter. Obviously, if it's cooler weather, your stuff is gonna stay cooler. If it's hot, you just need to plan accordingly. Like in Arizona last year, I would like go with a cooler to Walmart. I would fill it with ice. I would get all my groceries for like the next 24 hours, and then like I would have to do that every day. So it just depends on like your like what you want to do and like what you're willing to do, I should say. Because I definitely was like, I was in a way like it's definitely a budget friendly traveler. I was living from a lot of lack and scarcity, so a lot of these are from that time period of my life. If I could do it over again, I would do it differently, but also like I picked up a lot of useful things along the way. So that's that. Anytime you see a clean water spigot, fill up whatever bottles, jugs, containers you have with water. I used to have gallon jugs. I would have my water reservoirs for hiking. At one point I invested in an Aquatainer. You can get them at Walmart. They're big blue jugs with an actual spigot on it, or like a control knob. That was really helpful, honestly, because you can get different, they have all different like sizes and liters and gallons and things like that. Don't ask me about conversions because that's not what I'm here for, but it is really helpful for like when you're cleaning and things like that. They also have collapsible ones. I think you can find them at REI, Amazon, Walmart, things like that, where they're just like collapsible water cubes. My friend had that for when we would just go camping out in Colorado, and that was also really helpful for like doing dishes and things like that. Having a pot and a pan, and then like a little like 1 or 2 pot stove is also going to be really helpful. Just make sure you have the right fuel container for whatever you're using. I had a pocket rocket that I had gotten from REI, and I thought I could just use the Coleman like big green propane containers. There's propane and then there's butane. They're 2 different types of fuel. So you just want to make sure you have the right one. The pocket rockets are going to use butane. A lot of the other grills will use either a can or the big green Coleman containers of propane. Can't think of the name of them right now, but if you know what I know, if you know, you know. So just make sure you have the right fuel for whatever like system you're using. I personally had like a Coleman one pan stove that worked really well. If I could do it again, I'd get something with a flap, just because if you're somewhere where it's windy, you're not gonna be able to cook as you might be able to cook, but it's not gonna be as easily. There was many days where it was super windy in Arizona and I wasn't able to cook because the flame just kept like going out. So just being aware of that, and just kind of having a flap if you can definitely helps for like windy conditions, so that you can kind of position yourself. Also just be mindful of weather. Like if you know that the winds are coming in, like maybe cook your food ahead of time, or just kind of plan to go out, or have like easier stuff to make. Like I would get stuff for sandwiches, because obviously you don't need a grill for that. You can still grill when it's windy. It just is a lot harder because it takes a lot longer for things to heat up if the flame is going all over the place. So also, if you get a pocket rocket, just be careful that you screw it on correctly. I had a little mishap. Again, just things that I'm like, I feel like I experience these things so that I can pass them on to y'all, so you don't make the same mistake. My friends used to joke that I just made like this giant, like, I don't want to say it wasn't a bomb per se, but it definitely was, what would you call it? I didn't screw the butane on right to my pocket rocket, and I lit it and it just like shot up in flames. Fun fact, you can't just throw it in the water and it'll go out. You have to wait for the whole can to run out, so just things to be mindful of. Don't make the same mistake I did. Also, if it's windy, it's not gonna work as well. I would recommend getting a jet boil if you're gonna have like a one pot or cup system. If you're doing like backpacking meals and you just need to heat up water or things like that. Doing one pan meals is super easy. Obviously, if you can and you're just one person, eat right out of the pan, or if you're with, you know, one other person, you don't mind, like eat right out of the bag or the pan, just to like save on dishes and stuff like that. Obviously have like a box with like cleaning supplies, so whether that's like they sell like little travel size like soaps and stuff now, and like a sponge and things like that. Clorox wipes are also handy if you're like without water and things like that. Always have like emergency snacks and things like that depending on where you are. Having a road map, I don't know, I didn't put that in here at any point, but having an actual road atlas, 100%. Also, sorry guys, I'm moving all around. It's getting pretty windy here for a second. So yeah, having a road map or road atlas is going to be really helpful too. I would always keep one in my car. There was a solid, I think when we traveled through the Mighty Five, we pretty much used a road map like 3/4 of the time we were on that trip, because we'd lose service and not know where we were going. So it's pretty cool to do like a road trip via like old style. It's like when we used to do MapQuest directions. Also, some states, most states maybe, I know Utah for sure, if you know that you're going on a road trip somewhere, or you're going to be somewhere for a while, like they have actual, I think it's Visit Utah, has like a packet for like the Mighty Five like road trip. It also has like, it'll give you like things for the parks, but it will also give you like a map for the whole state. So if you're going to a visitor center and they have a map for the whole state and you don't have a road atlas, it's always good to have one of those handy. That's what I personally do. I always like to have a paper map handy just in case. Having like Kleenex and stuff in your glove box is super helpful. Hand sanitizer, things like that if you need it. Always grab napkins. Just grab extra napkins and like utensils when you go places, and just put them in your glove box. You never know when you're going to need them, honestly. And those are nice because they're disposable. I don't promote like plastic and trash and doing all that kind of stuff, but you find what works. Have things that I'm trying to think, like serve multi-purposes, if you will. So kind of like the baby wipes, or a knife. Obviously having like a paring knife is really good, but if you have just like a tactical knife or something that you can use for like cutting things, but also like when you go out on your hikes or travel or anything like that, that can be really helpful. Having some sort of trash system, I mentioned that already, like bags and stuff. Have a day bag. Like for me, when I was traveling, I had my sleep set up on one side of my back seat. I had all of my like cooking, I had like a box for all my cooking stuff, just to keep everything organized. And then I had like my water, and then I would have like my cooler and like maybe another bag of food on the other side. And then like I had my other storage of like clothes and stuff like that in the back. But most of my stuff, clothes wise especially, I would just keep in my front. I was solo traveling, so it was different, but I would just keep in my front seat. I would have everything in like their own packing cubes, so like everything was organized. Have a laundry bag so that you can put your dirty stuff separate easily. Most places now have laundromats, if you will. Obviously bonus points if you go to like an Airbnb and they have laundry. Otherwise you might need, a lot of places are going away from coins too, so just be aware of that. You might need an actual like debit card when you go to a laundromat now. Trying to think of anything else. Gosh, we covered a lot in 40 minutes. So proud of myself because I did the other video in 40 minutes. Less stuff, more space, and just keeping yourself organized. Like everything always has a place. So like if you take something out of somewhere, just put it back in that spot when you're done using it, so that way you don't lose things, and two, it just makes everything so much easier when you're organized and traveling and you're in like a small space. Obviously having toilet paper, wet wipes, flashlight, I covered all that. You can get plastic dishes and like cups and stuff like that. Walmart has like little like mess kits that you can get. They also have like silverware that's like foldable, which is really nice. It's like more silverware, not just plastic. If you get plastic stuff and you're going to be traveling and like using it for a while, just like invest in good silverware because it's gonna be better long term, I promise. If you can get bamboo, that's another good option that I used. I had some bamboo utensils I had gotten back in the day, and those were really helpful. I'm trying to think of anything else. What else did I have? I think that's pretty much it, y'all. Packing cubes, super helpful. Oh, having a national park pass, 100%. If you're doing any national park traveling, like, number one, check and see if they need reservations. Annoying, but just check ahead of time, especially if you're camping and things like that. If you're going to an area, just check like your cell phone, like service coverage, if you will, just to make sure that you'll have service wherever you go. And if you don't, just download things ahead of time. Make sure your Spotify has some good music downloaded so that you have some tunes to listen to when you're at camp if you don't have service. Gosh, what else? I don't think I need to get into food options or anything like that. If you guys have questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. I typically, basically, like my rundown was like I would have, if I felt like cooking, I would have like sausage or eggs or something in the morning for breakfast with like fruit and avocado. I also eat very light and like pretty basic anyways. The like ready-made salad kits are a banger when you're on the road. Oatmeal, also a great option, because you can just add water. Peanut butter, jar of peanut butter. Always have a jar of peanut butter. You can never go wrong with a jar of peanut butter. Gosh, I'm trying to think of anything else. I think that's pretty much it, y'all. I'm trying to think of any other tips, tricks, life hacks. Yeah, I think that's it, y'all. If you have any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. Obviously make sure you have like the right clothing and stuff depending on how long you're going for, where you're going, things like that. Make sure your spare tires are aired up at the right pressure, just in case. Probably know how to change a tire, just in case. Have a AAA membership. That is going to be really helpful too, if you can. My family still has a AAA membership, and it's honestly been helpful in various points in my life, not only for hotels, but for like flights, for so many different things, for roadside assistance and whatnot. Airbnbs are good spots to stop at. Hotels, AAA, Booking.com. Trying to think of anything else. iOverlander was really like the key to so many things. It has changed a little bit. I kind of like their old format better, but because I think now you have to like download the map of whatever area you're going to be in, but still super helpful. I like it too because I think I mentioned earlier, like you can leave reviews and stuff, so you can look at like who's been there recently, or if someone hasn't been there in like 2 years or reviewed it in 2 years or whatever the case is. And it'll give you, like, you can literally click on it and it'll give you, like, you can put it into like Google Maps and it'll take you right to the spot. Some places have multiple spots, like Craggy Wash, like I was mentioning, has like, you can literally drive miles out into the desert, like 2+ miles, and there's just random campsites. Some of the best sunsets I've ever seen, honestly, and it's super quiet out there. I will say, just be careful. A lot of places won't have service if you're on BLM land, just because you are out in the middle of nowhere. Some places I got super lucky with, but